Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is 413 Sports Talk, and I'm your host, Rahim Escalai. This is episode 17, Tuesday, April 6, 2021. We're going to get into 32 and 16. I have some NBA scores, some scores from the Major League Baseball, a review of that historical game last night with the NCAA men's, some Western Mass high school sports information and scores will be available as well. So without further ado, here we go. 32 and 16 continues with the NFC South. Today we'll go over the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons, who respectively placed third and fourth place in the division. Carolina Panthers, let's start with them. They hold the number 8 pick in this year's NFL draft. And just as of yesterday, the Carolina Panthers completed a trade with the New York Jets involving Sam Darnold, the former first-rounder from the 2018 draft, for a 2021 sixth-round pick and a second and fourth-round pick in next year's draft. So to me, it seems that they're willing to go all in a quarterback, but we forget they had the same package when they brought Teddy Bridgewater in, and you guys got to ask him how that went. So I think from what it looks like, they're going to try to build around him and potentially pick a supporting cast member when it comes to this first round pick. Because I honestly had them, I had them taking Mac Jones, but as far as the San Francisco 49ers being high on him, I'm not sure what's going to happen. And San Francisco jumped up to pick at number 3. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens right there, and what happens with Jimmy Garoppolo. What will his status be as far as a trade? Are the 49ers going to release him? So those are some interesting things to take in mind. Not to mention the quarterback in my next section of what we're going to talk about is in that position too. He's at the latter half of his career. He's starting to suck, and it's becoming a salary cap issue for this franchise. But anyway, let's focus on the Carolina Panthers. They got their franchise quarterback in the trade with the Jets. The defense has gotten better, believe it or not, since Matt Rule took the reins when he left Baylor back in 2018. They have the number 8 overall pick. So my prediction is that they will trade up to a team that is looking for an earlier deal, like a New England, like a Dallas Cowboys who are sitting at 10. I think Carolina trades back with one of those teams, and if they make that move, that will speak to the confidence that they have in Sam Darnold and what he can do. It's a lot has remained to be seen. Teams trade so much in between this period and between the start of the draft, so nothing is really set in stone. And we will have another mock draft anyway, just to shore up the uncertainty. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons. They were 4-12, last in the NFC South. They have the number 4 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft in the first round. It's time to rebuild. I say this: they haven't really gotten anywhere with Matt Ryan, other than the Super Bowl against the Patriots, which we all know what happened. Not sure how you give up a 28-3 lead. Especially over Tom Brady, and the second half, you guys just opened the door and said, "Here, walk right in, come right into our house," and so they did, and the Patriots ended up winning that Super Bowl. So it hasn't really been the same since then in Atlanta. A lot of defenses feared those Falcon teams back a couple years ago with Julio Jones. Even when Roddy White was at the tail end of his career, you were still afraid of the Falcons. And so the rebuild is it's a question here because they could go with anyone. Trey Lance, Kyle Pitts, Penei Sewell. They have options at number 4, especially when it all comes to light what they're going to do with Matt Ryan. The one light spot in that team, the bright spot, was Calvin Ridley with 90 catches, 1,374 yards, and only 9 touchdown grabs. For an offense that ranked 31st in total offense and unfortunately 32nd in total defense, they were literally the worst team in the league last year. They have a lot to build around linebackers Deion Jones and Foyesade. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your name, but Foyesade Olokun with 117 tackles and 3 sacks. If you can find the actual pronunciation for that, please send that to me. I feel really bad that I butchered his name. And the linebacker on the left side of the lineup, Deion Jones with 106 tackles, 4.5 sacks. So they have pieces to build around, and I'm confident that Atlanta is going to get the identity back of a defensive team. I don't think they necessarily can get it in a year, but I think 3-4 seasons you'll start to see this team shape into a defensive juggernaut. I personally think they should take Trey Lance here with this 4th pick. Matt Ryan's not getting any younger, and he's not getting any more productive. So I think the time is now to grab your franchise guy, and I think Atlanta's going to do that with Trey Lance. So they were 4-12 last year. I predict that the Falcons will get a little bit better, but not quite where they need to be to get over that hump. So I have them going 7-10 in the 17-game season. Also have the Carolina Panthers with that same mark as well. When you rebuild, especially in the NFC South, when you already have Tampa Bay and New Orleans ahead of you, I think it's going to take a couple of years because those are 2 pretty good all-around teams that have beat you repeatedly year after year. So there we have 32-16, the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. NBA scores: Washington Wizards over the Toronto Raptors, 103-101. The Brooklyn Nets beat the New York Knicks, 114-112. Utah Jazz lost to the Dallas Mavericks, 111-103. Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Sacramento Kings, 116-106. And the Detroit Pistons beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, 132-108. Cleveland Cavaliers win for the second night in a row, 125-101 over the San Antonio Spurs. And the nightcap was the Phoenix Suns over the Houston Rockets, 133-130. A lot of close games here coming down the stretch. All these franchises are alert. Playoffs are around the corner, so you might as well get those wins in now. It's when it comes playoff seeding time, you don't want to be on the outside looking in. Moving on to Major League Baseball, some scores from last night. The Minnesota Twins destroyed the Detroit Tigers 15-6, and that's very unprecedented, especially for baseball. You don't really see games with scores that high. That's pretty awesome. The Toronto Blue Jays over the Texas Rangers 6-2. Kansas City Royals over the Cleveland Indians 3-0. Yankees beat the Orioles 7-0. Philadelphia Phillies end up beating the Mets finally 5-3. There were 2 cancellations for the Mets. They didn't get a chance to play baseball this weekend. I know they're fired up, but those bats weren't that hot. Boston Red Sox beat the Tampa Bay Rays 11-2. Chicago Cubs beat the Milwaukee Brewers 5-3, and the nightcap, the Chicago White Sox beat the Seattle Mariners 6-0. That Seattle Mariners team has not looked the same since King Felix's departure. Felix Hernandez is one of the best pitchers that I've ever had the chance to see play, and I think he left a huge hole in that team up in Seattle when he left, because they haven't been the same. They've been below 500, and they've averaged just a hair over 5 runs a game. So I need to get another cornerstone, another pitcher in there. That's really going to take them over the hump. Moving on to the NHL. Yesterday, unfortunately, Mark Pavlich, one of the stars of the USA Hockey's Olympic team in 1980 that performed the Miracle on Ice, his death was unfortunately ruled a suicide yesterday. Would like to give him a moment of silence. Mark Pavlich was an undrafted free agent. He spent the greater half of 12 years in the major leagues, scoring goals. He played forward. He played center. He played for the Rangers, the Islanders, and the San Jose Sharks. The Edmonton over Montreal 2-3. We also have Winnipeg beating Ottawa 4-3. Boston Bruins beat the Philadelphia Flyers 2-1. Vegas over St. Louis 6-1. Colorado over Minnesota 5-4. Arizona beat the Los Angeles Kings 5-2, and Toronto beat the Calgary Flames 5-3. Alex Ovechkin moves up on the all-time scored goals list. So that was a good thing to see him do that. Alex Ovechkin came in the league in 2007. And he went alongside Sidney Crosby, and they have been the leaders of the NHL. Back and forth. Sidney Crosby hasn't really been the winner that Alex Ovechkin has. But that can be spoken towards supporting cast. Ovechkin played for Washington. It's the stars galore. So, there's enough said right there. Moving on to the NCAA Men's Final Four National Championship game. Unfortunately, Baylor ended up beating Gonzaga 86-70. Mitchell was running up and down the court like it was his all night. And Baylor in general as a team came out swinging. I don't think Gonzaga expected it. Though especially that 19-2 run towards the end of the first, that killed us. And though we brought it within 10 at the half, Baylor just the repeat of how they came out was just that in-your-face defense. They came out swinging, and they went on a few runs and pulled away. Congratulations to the Baylor Bears and Scott Drew for his boys winning the chip. It's been a long year. They were 29-2. And I really think they were the most outstanding team in the country. We won 31 games. That was historic. Like I had mentioned before, the NCAA has never seen that before. But we'll be back next year. We're already the AP preseason number one. As you saw, rankings just come out yesterday, thanks to Joe Lenardi. So there's confidence going forward. But I want to say, personally, to the Baylor Bears, congratulations. You guys won. Live it up. Enjoy yourselves. Savor the victory. Moving on to Friday Night Lights, Western Mass Style. On Friday the 9th of 2021, we have Westfield at Holyoke, Mayhar at Athol, Smith Volk goes to Ludlow, Agawam and West Springfield. That's going to be a good one. Frontier goes out to play Greenfield. Palmer goes to Ware. Minnechaug is on the road against East Long Meadow. And Putnam is at home to play the Commerce Red Raiders. Last Friday, Agawam scored 35 points and ended up winning against East Long Meadow, who only managed to notch a touchdown in that game. Minnechaug beats Westfield 28-0. Mayhar over Frontier 20-8. And Athol beats Franklin Tech 52-0. Last Saturday, Ware scored 2 touchdowns, and that's all they needed to beat Chicopee, as Chicopee was over in that game. And the Wacona Warriors beat Hoosick Valley 39-22. High school basketball for tonight. The 1-5 Hampshire goes on to play Gateway, who's struggling for a win. Let's hope that they get that tonight. And at the 5:30 game, 2-2 Southwick goes up against 5-0 Savas. That's what we have for you. Short episode 17. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. If I got anything wrong, if you don't feel like your team got enough light shed on it, please let me know, and we will make some adjustments. I love you all, and have a great day. I'm Rahim Escalai, and this is 413 Sports Talk.